Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mic Check Podcast. This is T Word, the People's Champ. Here with my co-host Q. Thank you for joining. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. So today we're going to go ahead and talk about the January 7th card on Showtime. That was a pay-per-view that's scheduled involving Gervonta Tank Davis, Jerome Hussenis, Uwe Andrade, and Rashidi Ellis. We're going to talk about whether or not this card is in jeopardy and possibly, some other outcomes that could come after Tank Davis' recent rest. So, Q, I'm going to put it to you and set it up for us, man. What do you think about this January 2nd card? What they going to do about it?
I think it's a difficult position to be in for any network when you're this close to a fight that really is at the height of your promotion, right? I mean, when you talk about pay-per-view sales, most people buy the pay-per-view the night of the fight. But you do get some people that start buying the pay-per-view if they're already convinced that they're going to watch it. They'll go ahead and purchase it the week before, the 10 days before, even up to 2 weeks before a fight is going to happen. Just because they already know they've set their schedule up, they've moved things around in their schedule to make sure they're in front of that TV or in front of that laptop or whatever at that time, and they've already marked that time out. Unfortunately, it just seems like in this situation, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty, probably up until the official press conference, I would assume. Because I really don't see them making a decision quickly until they've had a chance to at least hear his perspective and in court. Whether he gets to have a quick, a court date, arraignment, whatever that's going to be, unless there's some more facts that he knows that is going to come out quickly. I think it's going to be difficult for them to really consistently just entirely pull him from the card just because, he is a big ticket seller. He is a big deal, a part of their bottom line as far as PBC is concerned. But I wouldn't blame them if they pulled him right now. I wouldn't blame them. And I think it might actually set a good precedent for other fighters to make sure that they are on their P's and Q's when it comes to outside of the ring issues, especially so close to a fight date.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. I don't know if I would agree with necessarily pulling it at this point, just because there's such limited information that's out. Remember, we're operating from a space of an accusation, and an accusation shouldn't cause harm without proof necessarily. And I get it. We did talk about this in the previous video that he's lost benefit of the doubt. So there's a good chance that people just are going to automatically assume he's done something wrong. And in this case, this is pretty severe because this isn't your first go-around that your name's been mixed up in something violent like this, especially with the female. So now we're talking about, do we want this representing our company? And every poster, you're the main event. So that means your face is front and center on everything. Feasibility is never the question. I know that they could easily replace him if they wanted to. If somebody would be happy to step in and make that money against X Garcia. However, just from a standpoint of you're still in business with that fighter, and as part of that, you can't rush to judgment without the facts. So I think from a business standpoint, being this close, I don't see them pulling him. Now, the precedent that we have to refer to is Rolando Romero. He was supposed to go toe-to-toe with him, and he didn't because he had a situation that brought him into the spotlight in a negative way, right?
Right.
So that being said, they pulled him, but they were far enough away to where it worked.
Yeah.
They were able to just go ahead and switch him out, get somebody else in. I think they were about 6 weeks out.
I think it was a little less than. I think they might have been about a month because they did the press conference. Remember, they did the press conference outside where he was wearing the fur coat up on stage outside in Vegas. And it wasn't but maybe 2 weeks after that. So I assume that was about at the 6 week period when the press conference happened. I think they pulled him right at about a month, I believe.
Okay, so that's about a month out. So the precedent here is that at a minimum, a month out, they can make an adjustment. But now you're looking at about 10 days out, something goes wrong, and now you have to make a decision. So I'm just not sure how that will play out for PBC and Showtime. Showtime as the bigger brand, I can see them probably wanting to move a little bit quicker because I think that they pulled the trigger on the Rolly situation. But I wouldn't be upset if they decided to take a stand here and pulled him. I don't know that they would, just based on the evidence and information that's out there.
Yeah, man, I think the one thing that you kind of have to be consistent with when you're a network or when you're a league or when you're a sanctioning body, for example, or a promoter, is that if you're going to set a precedent that you're going to stand for something, you can't then turn around and bend the rule when it's convenient. And I think that that's kind of what would happen if they went ahead and let Tank have this fight, and they'll make no mention of it. They won't have any or field any questions at the press conference regarding his legal situation, because I would assume that if he does the press conference, that's going to be the first thing they tell any reporters. We're only answering questions about the fight. We're only answering questions about the card. But I don't think you can have it both ways. I think if you're going to let him have the fight, he needs to be available for questioning regarding the situation. And if he wants to decline those questions, or if he wants to say that I'm not at liberty to say anything else at this point, that's his own choice legally. But I don't think that they could completely just not allow the questions to be asked, because as a former reporter myself, it's your job to ask the questions. Whether the questions get answered the way you want them answered or not, that's up to the subject. But I think it would go a long way, in my opinion, if they were simply to just take that fight, postpone it to whatever date, 30 days, 60 days from now, or whatever the date is, put it for one of their other scheduled dates, and just make it a Showtime on TV card. Now, I don't know if that changes the financing, because I know that Showtime is kind of in a space of flux right now, transitioning, because you don't really know whether they've been guaranteed their annual budget, how much that budget is going to be, if it was going to be guaranteed, because obviously everyone knows, and if you don't already know, pay-per-view cards are essentially just the network gives you a platform, the promoter puts up basically the finances to get the production done, the promotion done, and then they make their money on the back end based on how many people buy the fight, as opposed to a live on network TV deal where the network is going to finance and agree to pay all of the fighters. And in that situation is what I would be suggesting. Don't know if that's something that can be done in a 10-day span, but I do know that it would go a long way, in my opinion, towards a step in the right direction when it comes to domestic violence, when it comes to repeat offenders. Because I think if this was the first time that Gervonta had something happen, I don't think that it would be as big of a deal. But because he's had a number of things happen in the past that have to do with women, whether it's his vehicle accident where he left the scene with a pregnant woman still locked in her car, whether it was him dragging the woman that he used to date, his first baby mother, out of a basketball game by her neck, or whether it was this situation where there's a woman claiming that, he hit her in the face. I think that it probably would go a long way for Showtime's optics, as you would call it, if they were to just postpone his fight till they had more information, let the rest of the fighters have their fight. And the unfortunate loser in that situation would just be Hector Luis Garcia. He's trained, he's prepared, he's cut weight, he's done all the sacrifices. I'm sure he's been away from his family and children, if he has any, to get ready for a fight that he may not probably have because of something that's out of his control. But that's sometimes the game of boxing.
That's true. So we're going to go ahead and leave it right there. Guys, we love to hear what you think. Again, as always, the comment section is always open. Feel free to chime in, whether you agree, disagree, indifferent. We'd still love to hear your opinion. This has been Mike Podcast with T and Q. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until the next time, peace.